This is called disappearing strip. You sew 4, and I'm using a jelly roll, so they're 2.5-inch strips by the length, 42 inches or whatever. And then you measure this way, and it's about 8.5 inches, so you make your cut at 8.5 inches. And then you take and do the cutting, and I lay the blocks out like this to form like a V. And then I take a ruler and I cut 1 inch on each side of the middle. So I lay it on there and I cut, and then I turn it around and cut the other side. So this is 2 inches from that's cut. And I do that on both of them. And then there'll be 4 blocks to each set, more or less. So you do this twice. And then after you do the cutting, this is already cut here. So you take the middle and just turn it around, and it ends up, you can see it ends up like that. And there's no matching of any seams or anything. And it ends up, this is the block that it ends up like. And then I trim this down to 7 inches. And it's kind of tricky how you trim it down, because you kind of have to match one block to the other for the seams and stuff. Otherwise, they won't match real well. And some of the seams are kind of hard to match, but it's so busy that you're not going to notice. So then you sew 4 of them together, and you get, and this is all out of the same jelly roll, what do you call it? Collection. So this is one that I ended up with. And this is another one. And what's so nice about a collection, they all go together. So there really isn't any right or wrong. And here's another one. And then this would be the 4th one, if that was sewed together. But out of each long strip, you get 5 of these. So there was 1 extra. So out of the 4 sets that I did, I had 1 extra. So then I took and sewed one from each of the combination, and I kind of like this one almost as good as that.
You have those smaller pieces. Do you trim them down to a certain size, or just?
Well, each one of these I trimmed down to 7 inches. So that's it. This is the one that it ends up being that. This I cut that down to 7 inches.
And that's what you were saying before, you trim it to the 7, you kind of set it with the others to figure out where you want to trim your 7.
You kind of want to match them a little bit, like here you want to kind of match where it really shows, but there's a few places here that it was impossible, but it's so busy that you're not going to really notice it. But if I didn't set it this way, I could have turned these the other way and had the blue in the center. This one I could have had the green in the center. This would be the blue in the center. And this one here could be either way. It could be the pink or the blue. And then this one here, I just kind of arranged it. I guess I didn't really do it. But I kind of like this one here, because this one has, well, each one has 4. So this one has 16 different fabrics in it, basically. So any questions on?
I'd like to see it a little closer online.
Okay.
One of the things I suggested when we saw this afternoon is if you're one of those people who has a real difficult time with the fact that your seams and your points don't match exactly.
Yeah.
This is a really good project for you to do,
Yeah,
because they don't have to. And so you kind of get over the fact
even
that
if
you aren't going to have them match.
Yeah, even if you wanted them to match, if they're not
going
perfect,
yeah.
It's not going to.
Yeah.
Unless
And some of us like to have real
judge gets a
methodical
hold of it.
patterns, and it's a chance to just like play with
Yeah.
the right colors.
Okay. And the next one is the disappearing log cabin. That's this one, yeah. Okay, so I've got two different sets, basically. I did the one, and that's the one that I did for the quilt show in Spring Grove, and it got reviews, and it was made to come, asked to come here and do it, so I will show you how to do this one now. Okay. Here's the, I have too many of these things. Here is the log cabin as it, before it, that's what it looks like before it's cut.
Using 2-inch strips.
This one, yeah, this one is 2-inch. The other one was 2.5. You could use 2.5 on here, but I like a 2-inch. For the example that the gal showed on the YouTube, the 2-inch I thought worked better. It's surprising what a 1/2 inch does to, there's several rounds here, so it gets that much bigger. Anyway, this I cut at 1.5 inches from the center. So I lay my ruler on there, cut there and cut here, and then this is where the disappearing comes in. And it really doesn't look like a whole lot right yet. But when you get a bunch of them together, and the trick is to lay your blocks this way so you have white on one side and dark on the other. You wouldn't want to cut it going this way. So that's the important way to cut it. And then you take those blocks and put 4 together. And so this was the same way. You kind of had to match one to the other to the other. That was kind of the tricky part of it. So there's that put together. That show pretty good. And if you didn't want that, you could turn it around. And then it would be like an hourglass, which would be okay. Or you could turn all of them the same way and it would be white in the center. But if you made enough of them, your next block over, you would have the blue center. So you'd get both the white and the blue. And then I have another example of, here's the other example that I had purchased this fabric and I thought this will work perfect for what I need. So this is what that one turned out to be. And the stuff doesn't match perfect on that either.
Very cool.
Does it show? From a distance, it looks good.
Galloping horses, galloping horses. So Carol, did you cut that down like you did the first
I did,
example?
I did, and I think it was, what did I think this looks like it's, this one went down, this started out at 8 inches. Let's see what, 2, 4, this is what I measured. This, yeah, 7.5. It looks like, yeah, 7.5. And I guess that's as big as I could make it. 7.5, okay. Don't ask me what I'll do with these when I get home. They're probably going to pile. Okay, and the last one that I show, this isn't a disappearing one. It's just a different technique. How many of you don't like putting binding on octagons? Well, you don't have to if you don't want to. So this is 8-sided, and rather than putting binding on it and getting the right angles and stuff, I'd make the back and I leave a space in the back and I sew all the way around and flip it. And so that, and to make the shape of this octagon, I already cut this apart this afternoon, but I'll kind of show you how I've started out with a 12.5 inch square So we'll just pretend it's still got the points on it here. So then you fold it diagonally once. And then you fold it diagonal again. And then again, and then you measure down, I think it's 6 inches from this point to here and cut it off. And then that gives you the octagon shape. And so then I cut the material out and then I do the backing where I put the seam in the back and leave a hole. And then I put the front and back together and then put it on batting and sew all the way around and then trim it and then flip it, and you don't have it to do any binding, because I could never get, if I left space here, I could never get it to turn in very good, so I opt to doing it that way instead. Did I miss anything from this afternoon?
No, we just showed the other, the smaller size, so like.
The smaller size, yeah,
Something
this
under
is
a
the-
bowl or whatever.
This started out at 10 and I think 10.5 inches. And after it got cut down. So it can be you can kind of make them whatever size, and you can put as many borders on as you want to. I just put 2 on here, or you could put a flange in here instead of this type of a little border. So that's the 2 different sizes that I have worked with. And then when you add the borders, you add the 4 and you trim them, and then you put the other 4 on, and then rather than going around, it's better to go 4 opposite ones. And okay, so any other questions? That should do it.
Yeah.